What's up, people? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to, I think this is week four. Um, you just submitted, if you're watching this, then you probably just submitted essay one. This could be still the weekend or it could be Monday morning. And I know you just submitted essay one, but don't get too comfortable because we are now turning this thing right over again and starting essay two right away because um, that is the main thing from this point on from this course is these essays. You had 3 weeks to work on essay one, and now it's going to go down to almost pretty much 2 weeks for the most part for the next couple of essays. All right, with a spring break, summer break thrown in there at some point also. Okay. So the thing about those that like I don't really have anything new to teach for essay two or essay three because you're doing the same thing. Essay one is the hardest one. It's really the hardest essay because it's your first essay. It's the first one. It's your first graded essay. It's your first all those things. Okay, so you it's almost like a crash course with essay one. Essay two and essay three, there's really nothing new. It's the same activities, just different material. So you almost get like a redo. In fact, I'm gonna let you in on something. Okay. If you get your grade back for essay one and you're not happy with it and it's kind of low, then you can when you're not going to rewrite essay one. Essay one's done. It's done. But here's your chance to redeem yourself. If the grade you make on essay two is better than the grade you made on essay one, I will match your essay two grade to essay one. So if you made a 55 on essay one, but then you make an 85 on essay two, then I will change essay one's grade to an 85. Okay. So you can totally redeem yourself if you do better. Now, the most important thing, though, is to learn from your mistakes. You need to look at all the comments, all the things that I wrote on essay one, and make sure you don't make those same mistakes in essay two. Okay. The majority of people's issues are writing issues and grammar issues, integrating quotes issues. Very few times do I comment on actually the way people are interpreting the stories for the most part. Okay. So this is all skill based. It's 95% all skill based. All right. So the goal for essay two is to not make the same mistakes that you made on essay one. And because it's the same skills, it's talking about a source, about a primary source, using secondary sources to integrate and integrating quotes and citing those sources correctly and formatting and MLA formatting. It's all the same. It's all the same, just different material. All right. But the hardest thing, the thing that people get points off for are the skills. And it's the same skills. It's not like math where like unit one, we're doing quadratic functions, and then unit two, we're doing some other make believe geometry, shapes, okay, molecular functioning. I don't know. Okay, it's all the same concepts. Paper one, paper two, paper three. So if you master those, if you fix those skills in essay one by showing that you don't make those same mistakes in essay two, then that means that you have grown as a writer. So I should reward you with that growth. You're no longer making those same mistakes that you made in essay one. So I will replace the grade of essay one. The reason why I don't let people just rewrite essay one is because I've already marked all the errors. I've already shown you what you did wrong. And so then you then just fix the things I've already pointed out. That's not showing growth. Okay. I need to see that you can not make those same mistakes. Can you write a second paper and not make the same mistakes you made in the first paper? Okay. All right. So let's get to this. I am splitting this lecture up into three parts. First, I'm just going to introduce the second essay. I'm going to go over all the second essay stuff. Okay. Then I'm going to cut it off. And then I'm going to record a presentation on Candyman, and then I'm gonna cut it off, and then I'm gonna record a third one, on Moana. I might do that all right here, sitting down right here, or I might record this one and then record the second one someplace else. You might see me in a different shirt in a different room, okay? Or it could be the same. Who knows? Who knows? I don't even know because I don't have a whole lot of time. So I need to quit yakking and get to it. So here we go. PowerPoint time. Slideshow. Okay. So this is a 2-week film unit. You, a 2-week film unit. Yeah. Where you are going to study a film and you're going to write a paper about a film that you have chosen. And your paper is not going to be about Candyman or Moana. These are examples that I'm going to present to you. You cannot use Candyman or Moana as your topic for essay 2. Let me make sure I get that out very clearly. All right. So essay 2. This paper will be a lot like essay 1. It's all the same skills as essay 1. All right. You will connect you are going to connect research. You're going to conduct research on one of the following perspectives that fall under a social, political, critical lens. I'm going to get rid of, wait, I did A here, under a social, political lens, not lenses. Oh my God, what an idiot. What an idiot. See, live editing happening right here. I'm always catching errors. Even myself, -5 points on me. Okay. So essay 1, you did a critical lens and a philosophy. This one, you're just doing a lens. All right, just a lens. And in fact, you can do multiple lenses for one film. Okay. So you can maybe analyze a film and apply a feminist lens. And maybe you're saying this film is a feminist film, or maybe you're saying it's not a feminist film. Now, the only way you can do it's not a feminist film is if the film is almost portrayed as if it's a feminist film, like Thelma and Louise or Bad Girls. Okay. And then you want to argue this is actually not a feminist film. Okay. Maybe the film addresses class and capital. Is it a Marxist film or is it a pro-capitalist film? I'm going to throw capitalism in there. All right. Is it about, in our class analysis, analyzing the class, is it emphasizing upper class values or is it focusing on the problems of the lower class? Does it address race and ethnicity? Well, what is the film saying about being a person of color in America or any country? Maybe the film takes place in Ireland. What's it like to be a Black person in Ireland? Does it address immigration or nationalism? Okay. Queer theory, again, is the film secretly or obviously about the experience of people in the LGBTQIA plus community? Is the film about a trans person? Is the film a metaphor for what it's like to be a gay youth living in the closet? Okay. Remember, with these, the film doesn't have to actually be about these things to be about these things. I mean, in terms of race and ethnicity, when I watch The Fox and the Hound, that to me, that book is, the movie is clearly about race. It's about race. The Hound represents white people, and the fox are Black people. It's so obvious. It's so obvious, even though in the film they're dogs. Okay. Eco criticism is the film's theme about the environment, either pro-environment. Films like The Happening is eco horror. That Disney movie about like the center and they're drilling, they're getting energy. What's it called? I think I have it in this PowerPoint. Maybe it's a Disney movie that's like very, or even just the Lorax. The Lorax is an environmentalist film. Okay. Psychoanalytic is it? The obvious one is Inception. Inception's all in the brain, in the brain, in the brain. Okay. Is it dealing with the subconscious? Is it dealing with deep psychological struggles? It's a film religious, moralistic, political. Is it making some? Is it a satire? I mean, like Idiocracy. Okay, religious perspective, conservative maybe perspective, a liberal perspective, a revisionist history. Is the film, slanted in any of these ways? Okay, you're gonna end up picking two of these, two of them, or you can split it up with two different interpretations, or you can do one and then look at it from multiple, like you can do the whole film on a feminist perspective and say the film is very feminist this way and addresses these issues that are brought up in feminism. Or you can say this film is both feministic and this has a lot of this addresses the intersectionality of women and lesbians and how this addresses issues that deal with women and also deals with issues that deal with gay women. Okay, so you can pick two, or you can do one the whole way through. Okay. Again, this will be a lot like essay one. Again, I wrote here research on one of the social political critical lenses, but I am going to change that to two of the social political and critical lenses. Okay, two is fine because in Candyman, when you will see, I go over talking about multiple forms of interpretation. Okay, so that is fine. Okay. You will need to discuss at least two elements or symbols, characters, events in the film that relate to the lens or lenses. So if you want to talk about if the whole film is just about you're doing a critical race theory analysis of it, okay, then you will have multiple things you're going to discuss about how it relates to race. All right. So like if we're doing This Is America, one whole paragraph would be about the narrator, how he is the Childish Gambino singer, how he represents the incarnation of racism. He is Jim Crow. He is the embodiment, the manifestation. He's racism personified. So the whole paragraph would just be about him and Jim Crow. Then another paragraph would be about the guns or the violence in the background or the car cemetery, what that represents. All right. And that whole thing would just be about the cars and what they represent. So you got to have multiple elements that you are going to discuss. Now, if you're going to do multiple elements, you might say, okay, this film is partly deals with race, and here's this. And then the second paragraph could be about how well, this, but it's also a feminist film because it addresses this issue. And then you have something else that you talk about from the film. You will need to discuss the theme of the film as it relates to your lens. Okay. You will, in a third paragraph, you will discuss if this film is a feminist black film, what is it saying? So you did one paragraph about black women, and then you do another one about like women in general, and then you do a final one talk about like what is it saying about what is the theme in dealing with being a black woman in America. Okay. So you got to pull it all together to have one theme, one main theme. 4 full pages, full page, not including the works cited page. So it might be like 4 pages and then a little bit of a fifth page just to be safe. 3 secondary sources, so outside the film. Those should be some about the film, but then also about like the lenses, the film that you've picked, a works cited page, proper MLA formatting, integrated quotes with parenthetical citations. Okay. Here are the different lenses. Again, I'm going to go over them specifically, and I'm going to give you some film suggestions. You are not required to use any of these films. You can, okay? The only restriction about this paper is that you do not write your paper on Moana or Candyman. And I guarantee you there's going to be somebody who writes their paper on either Candyman or Moana because it happens every semester. No matter how many times I say, you may not write your paper on Candyman or Moana, but you can choose any of these or anyone that you want to film that you want to pick. You might choose a film that you've already watched, that you already have an opinion on, and it'd be easier to do. So Marxism, what does the film say about the negative aspects of materialism, wealth, and income? Some good movies you could watch and analyze: American Psycho, Into the Wild, The Lady and the Tramp, Titanic. All four of those films deal with issues dealing with class, materialism, and wealth. Psychoanalytic, what does the film say about complicated and contradictory human desires and nature? The Departed, best film ever made. Yes. Marriage Story. Whew, that's a heavy one. Gangs of New York. Both Gangs of New York and The Departed have Leonardo DiCaprio and done by Martin Scorsese. Great films. They're both very deeply psychoanalytical, okay? Very emotional. Feminism. What does the film say about the feminine experience? Films like this can show a woman succeed, or it could highlight the challenges and social barricades, or it could focus on the toxicity of males. Even Lord of the Flies and Fight Club, both of which films that have almost zero women in it, or with Fight Club like one, all right, can have feminist readings of them without there being any women in the film. Okay, so Fight Club could be that'd be really interesting to do a feminist reading of Fight Club. Another example is Midsummer. Fantastic movie. Oh my gosh. I'm going to talk about that one a little bit more in a moment. Great horror film, majorly a feminist film, and there's so much written about it. It'll be such an easy paper. If you can handle the gore of Midsummer, it's easy. Cold Mountain, fantastic. Moana, I'm going to talk about it, but you can't use it. You can't use it. Fight Club, and again, Titanic. Queer Theory. What does the film say about the queer experience? Same as feminism. Films like this can show how a queer person succeeds, or it could highlight the challenges and social barricades, or it could focus on the toxicity of heterosexism. Films can have queer interpretations of them without there being any explicitly out characters in them. Lost Boys. I'm going to talk about that one in a little bit. Fight Club, again. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Oh, I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It is one of my favorites ever. If you want to do that, I have a whole PowerPoint. I have tons of stuff about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I will just send you because I used to teach it in one of my other classes. All right. Eco criticism. What does the film say about the earth and nature? Into the Wild, The Happening. Okay. Critical race theory. What does the film say about people of color that challenges norms or presents other types of experiences? Again, The Fox and the Hound. Night of the Living Dead is actually about race. The main character in that black and white film about zombies, the OG zombie film, is a black man, and the zombies actually represent racism in white people, and that racism is a brainless hatred. Okay, it's pointless. All right. There's a lot of reasons to dislike a person, but there's no reason to dislike them because of their color of their skin. Okay, that does not mean that you have to like every single person regardless of their skin color. I mean, like, I have met black people that I love, and I've met black people that I don't like, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they're black. And so, Night of the Living Dead really addresses that, where people whose only reasoning for disliking people of color is because of their color of their skin, they are mindless zombies. And so, but it's a horror film, and they never talk about racism. There's never a burning cross in the back of the film, in a scene, but it is about the mindlessness of racism. Get Out is an obvious horror film that deals with race. Religious moralism, political affiliation. Does the film project a certain type of morality through the film? Is it alluding to a religious text or a specific type of faith? These are better when the film is not obviously about a religion. Like, people, please do not watch The Passion of Christ and then do a religious analysis of it. Not cool. But films like No Country for Old Men, that film can be interpreted very much as a God, Satan, a lot of Westerns. Okay, I mean, it's a Western. 3:10 to Yuma. 3:10 to Yuma has so much religious imagery and has references, has through their images has references to like the writers of the apocalypse, okay, and Revelations. They don't ever talk about God, but if you have any type of like knowledge or background in studying the Bible, you clearly see its connections. Okay, so again, um, you can't pick a religious film and then do a religious reading of the film. Okay, but you can do a film and apply it to a certain religion that it clearly is emulating. Okay, and that you're pointing out the connections to. All right. Okay. Here are some that you can do in a moment. Okay. But first off, understand film analysis is the same as literary analysis. And in case you haven't put it all together, the reason we're doing a film study for unit SA2 is because SA3 is where you compare contrast your book and the adaptation of the book. You do literary analysis and you do film analysis, which is essentially the same thing. Okay. Because we're talking about theme, symbolism, character development, conflict. Okay. Analyze author's choices, use of flashbacks, what is described or shown, resolutions. All these things can be discussed. All right. I want to highlight a few that you could focus on. Get Out. Get Out addresses the effects of cultural appropriation. Okay. It is a film where, while Candyman, which we're going to talk about, is the negative effects of racism. Okay. Get Out addresses the negative impacts about when white people love black people too much. Okay, when they love them too much. I get now. I think that there's that term called like I don't know, love bombing. All right, Get Out kind of addresses those kind of issues. The inappropriate or unacknowledged adoption of an element or elements of one culture or identity by members of another culture or identity. Cultural appropriation. This can be controversial when members of a dominant culture appropriate from minority cultures. Okay. Sometimes it's well received. Sometimes it's like, look, we are showing respect. Other times it's, I want the attention. I don't care about y'all. I'm just going to take what you do without caring much. Kind of like, sometimes you have these like racist white people who will at the same time who were all about they probably fully supported the taking of Native American land and calling Native Americans Indians still. We're totally fine with referring to football teams as Redskins and whatever. And at the same time, they love themselves some Native American jewelry. They love themselves Native American imagery, even though they would not support the idea of giving property back to Native Americans. Okay, that's cultural appropriation, taking something of an adopting elements of another person's culture without showing any respect to those people. And the film kind of does that. Okay, in this film, white people literally take over black bodies, like literally take their bodies. They put white brains in black bodies because, to quote the movie, black is cool. Black is cool. Midsummer, great film if you want to watch it. It's a horror film. All these I'm showing you are examples of horror films. Horror films are great films to analyze. They're often very deep. The scathing takedown of masculinity and abusive relationships played out in the form of a horror movie. There's a group of guys who are all best friends, okay? And this girl is just the annoying girlfriend. And the male best friends in this film represent toxic men who just want to hang out and be left alone, unbothered by the emotional needs of women. They're standoffish and hesitant towards women. The male character's aloofness is the source of his villainy. It's also his fatal flaw, his undoing. Okay. And so a reckoning towards the men comes through this film. So that's a great film. The Lost Boys is a great film that one could do a queer analysis of, all right, because it is about what it's like to struggle with our sexual identity for the first time in our lives. Okay, the vampires in this film represent it represents young men and well, okay, first off, it's written and directed by a homosexual director. He wanted to make a horror film, and so he was going to combine sort of like the fear that people have of realizing that they're gay as teenagers, and them having to come out and how they see the world as being very dangerous, and that it's a difficult time in one's life. And so in the story, you have this kid, Michael. He becomes seduced by David, the Lost Boys. And it's just one thing after another with a lot of imagery that is symbolically of sexual imagery hidden behind these, drinking of bottles and drinking blood. And Michael eventually kind of becomes this kind of vampire. All right. And there's a lot of emphasis on blood, which could reference the exchange of blood is also commonly used in vampire films as means by which to present the AIDS epidemic. So there's a lot going on in this film, but it's also just a horror film, fun horror film. Okay. But then also, Joel Schumacher, openly gay man, all right, made this film to also be a big metaphor for the craziness of the experience for these young people having to come, realizing who they are in a society that often looks down on them and makes them seem like they are freaks. So it's pretty neat. And then the last house on the left is from 1972. This film, okay, is a moralistic film. All right. It's ironic because the film is filled with terrible violence. Okay. But it was written and directed by Wes Craven, who was a big adamant protester of the Vietnam War. And his big theme, one of his constant themes in his movies, is that violence doesn't solve violence, right? And in this film, these parents find out that their daughter and her best friend are brutally murdered, and they end up getting the murderers into their house. And throughout the night, they get revenge and they murder the murderers of their daughter and her friend. Okay, but by the end, after they've killed the last one, they have this big realization, all right, that they didn't do any honor to their daughter, who was this peaceful, loving hippie girl, by murdering her murderers, because they reflected more of the behavior of the murderers than the true spirit of their daughter. And so, in a lot of films, when the hero is able to kill the antagonist or get their revenge, right? They look, they're filled with jubilee. They're happy. They're like, yay, I've done it. Okay. And this film ends with this look of remorse and sorrow in the face of the father after killing the final murder of his daughter. And that, he's not rejoicing. He's not like, this is great. He is just as wrecked as he was when he found out that his daughter was dead. Okay. And so this is even though it's a horror film, it's a slasher film, and these people commit murders. It's a moralistic film because it's actually an anti-violence film. It's violence does not solve violence. Violence is not a solution to violence. Okay. So these are just some different ways that you can interpret films. All right. You can watch some of these if this is of interest to you, and then you take your paper further from this. Okay. Or again, you pick your own film. All right. This week, watch my Candyman analysis, which I'm gonna record. Probably not next. I'll probably record it later. Watch the Moana analysis. Pick a film to watch on your own. Not Candyman, not Moana. You can pick one of the ones that I suggested, though, just not either of those two. And then research that film. Write an outline of the film, which is a great. Complete the quiz 4 quotes. All right, quiz 4 is on quotes, using quotes, integrating quotes. Quiz tip: when citing a film in a quote, you end the quote with the name. With the name of the director. not the movie. Okay. Hint, hint, hint. There might be a question on quiz 4 about this. When citing a film in a quote, you end the quote with the name of the director, not the movie. And then, next quiz tip, the names of films are written in italics, just like books. And then you should still be reading your independent novel because essay 3 will be about your independent novel. Okay? All right. That's the end of part 1. Hope you watch it. Hope you enjoy it. There you go. Sayonara. I'll see you in a little bit. Goodbye.